When I went to get his signature, he was busy comforting Ariana. Seeing me, he said, "It's just a worthless stone. Don't hold a grudge against Ariana. She only has me." I closed the folder, then walked to the coffee table, picked up the glass of ice water, and without hesitation, splashed the entire glass of ice water onto Ariana's face. Snap! The sound of the expensive gemstone impacting the imported Italian marble floor was crisp enough to be a slap in the face, whipping viciously through the air of this penthouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. That was Aurora, the high jewelry I prepared as the showstopper for Sotheby's spring auction, valued at $3 million. I spent 6 whole months, from rough cutting to the final setting, pulling countless all-nighters. And now it had turned into irreparable fragments, scattered like trash across the Persian rug. I didn't mean to." A sharp, trembling female voice pierced the dead silence. Ariana curled up into that priceless antique velvet sofa, hands clutching her chest tightly. Her face, meticulously sculpted by cosmetic procedures, was deathly pale, her breathing so rapid it seemed she might suffocate at any second. "Liam, I can't breathe. The light from that necklace, it's so blinding. Just like the headlights of the truck that hit my dad back then. I'm so scared." "Shh, Ariana, it's okay. I'm here." My husband, the eldest son of the Rhodes family, the famous Liam Rhodes of Wall Street, didn't even spare a glance at the pile of priceless jewelry wreckage on the floor at this moment. He rushed over to Ariana's side in a flash, holding her tightly in his arms, his usually cold hands now gently patting her back, as if soothing a frightened little deer. He looked up at me, those deep eyes no longer holding the deep affection from our wedding, left with only impatience and disgust. "Kayla, are you dead? Can't you see Ariana is having a panic attack? Hurry up and pour some water. Sweep away those pieces of junk on the floor. Don't let her see them. It'll trigger her PTSD." Pieces of junk. He called my blood, sweat, and tears the work that was about to represent the Rhodes family's taste in high society. Pieces of junk. I stood where I was, wearing a black Celine haute couture business suit, my back straight. This outfit was like a layer of armor wrapping around my heart that was already riddled with holes. I didn't move, just quietly watched this man I had loved for 5 years and that woman with shoddy acting skills in his arms. This wasn't the first time. Ever since Ariana showed up at our door 3 months ago with a so-called final letter from her late father, crying that she was all alone in New York, Liam has completely changed. His savior complex that he took such pride in found immense satisfaction in Ariana. Ariana is afraid of the dark, so he makes me turn off the studio lights late at night. Ariana is allergic to it, so I can't wear perfume at home. Ariana says she wants to fit into high society, so he forces me to lend her my haute couture gowns. And today she destroyed my Aurora. "Liam," I spoke up, my voice so calm it surprised even me. "That necklace is company property and is already listed on the insurance schedule. Ariana damaged it, so according to procedure, we need to call the police to assess the damage." "Enough," Liam roared, as if I were a monster with no feelings. "How much? 3 million or 5 million? I'll write you a check. Do you have a shred of sympathy in your brain besides money? Ariana's father died saving me. She is my responsibility. She's just staying at the house for a few days because she's emotionally unstable. Do you really have to bring out those cold stones to scare her?" He looked at me like he was looking at a money-grubbing shrew, and Ariana, buried in his chest, peered through the crook of his arm, revealing a face stained with tears, yet unable to hide her smugness. She secretly raised a brow at me, a look filled with naked provocation. See, even if you are the rightful Mrs. Rhodes, in this house, you are nothing. It was exactly at this moment that her movement caused the covering on her neck to slip, revealing a flash of dazzling pink. My pupils constricted sharply. It was a pink diamond necklace. That was the pink star, a personal item I had designed specifically for our 3rd wedding anniversary. The center stone was an extremely rare 5-carat pink diamond. That was my dowry, the backing I brought from the Fan family. The workshop had just delivered the finished piece yesterday, and I locked it in the safe in the study. This morning, Liam said he couldn't find a document and had me open the safe, then told me the necklace was gone, and that the servants probably had sticky fingers. So the missing necklace was right now hanging brazenly around Ariana's neck. Sister Kayla. Ariana's tearful voice sounded like fingernails scratching against a blackboard. I really like this pink stone. Brother Liam said it really suits my complexion. You have so much jewelry. Surely you wouldn't mind giving this to me to calm my nerves, right? I'm sorry, I'll pay for the one on the ground. I'll pay you back once I become an influencer and make money. Pay for what? Liam waved his hand, even going so far as to help her adjust the position of the necklace. It's just a stone. If you like it, wear it. Kayla is a top designer. She has tons of this stuff. She isn't that petty. Being generous at someone else's expense is always so easy. At that moment, I heard the sound of the last string in my heart snapping. There was no gut-wrenching pain, only an unprecedented sense of relief. It was like having struggled in a murky quagmire for too long and finally deciding to climb ashore. Even if I was covered in mud, at least I could breathe fresh air. I looked at Liam. This man, once hailed as a New York business genius, was now both blind and deaf, willingly trapping himself in a low-grade green tea scheme. I was tired. Not the tired from staying up all night drawing designs, but a weariness that went bone deep. I didn't want to be the sensible, magnanimous Mrs. Rhodes anymore, didn't want to be his perfect social calling card, and certainly didn't want to pay for his stupidity. You're right, I nodded, that impeccable smile I'd honed in high society surfacing on my face. It's just a necklace. Ariana's health is what matters. Liam let out a sigh of relief, his expression softening slightly. I knew you were still sensible. Don't hold it against Ariana. She only has me. I won't make an issue of it. I turned and walked toward that Louis XVI antique desk, pulling a prepared folder from my briefcase. Since you want to compensate on her behalf, then sign this. This is this quarter's asset authorization and liability waiver. The destruction of the necklace is a serious matter, and I need to give the board an explanation. This was a lie. But Liam Rhodes was too arrogant. He was used to me cleaning up his messes in business, used to my submissiveness at home. He never imagined that the wife who, in his eyes, could only cling to the Rhodes family halo had actually sharpened her knife long ago. He didn't even look at the contents of the document. His left hand was still comforting Ariana, while his right hand grabbed the Mont Blanc pen on the desk and signed his name with a flourish on the signature line. Done. Go pour the water. He tossed the pen aside like dismissing a disobedient servant. I picked up the document, confirming that the signature was clear and valid. Perfect. This wasn't any asset authorization. It was a separation agreement and asset division drafted by the top divorce legal team in New York. The clauses stated in tiny print, once the male party signs, he acknowledges the breakdown of the marriage, and due to the male party's irreconcilable faults, including but not limited to emotional abuse and inappropriate relationships, the female party shall immediately receive 100% equity in all jewelry brands under her name, as well as 40% of Liam Rhodes's personal liquid assets as emotional compensation. In just these past few seconds, he personally signed away half his fortune, along with my freedom. I closed the folder and gently placed it inside my Hermes Birkin bag. Then I walked over to the coffee table and picked up that glass of water filled with ice cubes. Liam thought I was going to wait on Ariana, and a look of satisfaction appeared on his face. The arrogance a beast tamer shows when a wild beast obeys a command. Splash! I raised my hand, gave my wrist an elegant twirl, and mercilessly splashed the entire glass of ice water onto Ariana's face. Ah! Ariana let out a scream like a slaughtered pig and bounced up from the sofa like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Her so-called difficulty breathing and total weakness vanished instantly without a trace. Her carefully styled curls were plastered to her scalp, and her false eyelashes were dangling precariously. She looked a total mess. "Kayla, are you crazy?" Liam shot up, staring at me in disbelief, the veins on his forehead bulging. I unhurriedly set down the empty glass, pulled out a tissue to wipe my hands, and said calmly, "Didn't she just say her chest felt tight and hot? Ice water helps constrict blood vessels and stimulate the nerves. It's the quickest way to treat hysteria. I'm helping her." Liam raised his hand as if to hit me, but froze in midair. I looked straight into his eyes, my gaze colder than that glass of ice water. "Liam, that pink star around her neck? The main stone is a high imitation zirconia I used to test the setting craftsmanship. The real pink diamond has been sitting in a safe in a Swiss bank this whole time." Ariana's face instantly turned green. She frantically clutched the necklace around her neck, as if the thing had suddenly turned into a red-hot branding iron, unsure whether to take it off or keep it on. And another thing. I took off the 10-carat diamond ring on my left ring finger that symbolized the status of the Rhodes family's eldest daughter-in-law and casually tossed it onto the marble tabletop. Metal struck stone, making a dull, heavy thud. I quit. Liam frowned, a trace of panic flashing in his eyes, but he quickly covered it up with anger. "What do you mean? Don't throw a tantrum here. Tomorrow is the charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum, and you must attend as the hostess." "I won't be attending." I turned around, the sound of my high heels on the floor distinct and rhythmic, every step like a war drum. "And I won't be coming back either. My lawyer has already received the digital copy of that document you just signed. Goodbye, Liam, or rather, see you in court. Kayla, stop right there. Who do you think you are without the Rhodes family?" Liam's roar echoed behind me, mixed with Ariana's renewed, even more piercing, fake crying. I didn't look back. I stepped out of that private elevator, crossed the magnificent lobby, and walked out into the cool Manhattan night. The doorman bowed respectfully. "Mrs. Rhodes, do you need the car?" "Call me Miss Fan." I flashed him a smile. At that moment, I felt the blood in my whole body boiling, and even the foul Manhattan air smelled incredibly sweet. Also, no need. I won't be riding in the Rhodes family car anymore. I reached out and hailed a yellow taxi. Settling into the back seat, I took out my phone, and a message popped up on the screen. The sender was Eleanor Rhodes, my shrewd and capable mother-in-law, or rather, ex-mother-in-law. "Kayla, dear, Gavin lands at JFK in an hour. My sciatica is acting up, and the driver happens to be on leave. Can you pick him up for me? He hasn't been back to New York in 5 years. Gavin Rhodes, the second son of the Rhodes family, the madman exiled to Silicon Valley by the family, the unicorn hunter who built his own venture capital empire in just 5 years, and the younger brother Liam feared and hated the most." I stared at the name on the screen, a playful smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Besides, I really do need an ally right now that Liam absolutely wouldn't dare to provoke. "Sure, Eleanor, I'm on my way." The taxi merged into traffic and sped towards Kennedy Airport. The neon lights outside the window stretched into ribbons of light, like a runway leading to a new world. The game has just begun, Liam, and this time, the one dealing the cards is me. The taxi came to a steady stop at the arrivals level of Kennedy International Airport. The night breeze in New York carried a hint of the salty dampness unique to the Atlantic, mixed with the smell of jet fuel. It should have been an unpleasant smell, but right now it made me feel clearer-headed than ever. I dug a spare lipstick out of my bag and touched up my makeup in the rear-view mirror. Since I've decided to crawl out of that stagnant water, I definitely can't lose on the first impression. Gavin Rhodes, There are two versions of the rumors about this second young master in New York's high society. One is Liam's version: perverse, sinister, a loser exiled by his family because he was jealous of his older brother. The other is the version privately circulating on Wall Street, an investment machine with absolute cold rationality, the youngest member of Silicon Valley's $10 billion club, a madman who can stomp anyone who looks down on him right into the mud. But the Gavin in my memory remains stuck in that rainy night 5 years ago. He stood under the porch of the Rhodes Mansion, soaked to the bone, clutching a one-way ticket to California, looking at me with a depth and repression I couldn't read at the time. Back then, I had just gotten engaged to Liam. "Hi, sister-in-law." That slightly teasing address interrupted my memories. I looked up and saw a tall man walking out of the VIP channel. Having not seen him for 5 years, Gavin had shed his former greenness. He was like a heavy sword just unsheathed, sharp and aggressive. He wore a casually cut dark gray trench coat over a black turtleneck. Unlike Liam, who always stuffed himself into stiff three-piece suits, Gavin possessed a natural air of nobility. His hair was longer than before, scattered slightly messily across his forehead, and those eyes, somewhat similar to Liam's but narrower, were staring at me with a half-smile. There were no droves of followers behind him, just a single assistant pushing a minimalist suitcase. "Gavin." I walked up to him, trying to keep my voice steady and composed. "Welcome back." He stopped, his gaze sweeping over me with extreme impudence before finally landing on my left hand. The place where that 10-carat diamond ring used to be was now empty, leaving only a faint trace. It seems Eleanor didn't lie to me. The corner of his mouth curved into a playful arc, his voice deep like the vibration of cello strings. The air in New York really has improved. I froze for a moment, then immediately realized what he was saying. Eleanor must have told him something, but this double-edged remark of his was both mocking Liam and seemed to hint at some sort of liberation for me. "I'm not sure if the air quality has improved," I shrugged. That perfect mask I had to keep tight at all times around Liam didn't seem necessary to wear in front of Gavin's unabashed sharpness. But I did just throw out some trash. Gavin raised his eyebrows, a glint of surprise flashing in his gray-blue eyes. He didn't seem to expect that the once gentle and submissive sister-in-law would speak so sharply now. "That sounds like good news." He didn't ask any more, turning sideways to open the door of the black Maybach that had been waiting nearby for me. "Get in, Kayla. I'll take you home." "I don't have a home anymore." I stood by the car door without moving, my tone so calm it was like I was talking about someone else. Just an hour ago, I left the penthouse. Now I'm homeless. Gavin's hand paused on the car door handle for a second. He turned his head, those originally teasing eyes now darkened, like the sea before a storm. "Did that idiot Liam kick you out?" "No," I corrected him, a cold sneer curling my lips. "I fired him, and I made him sign a separation agreement that would probably make the Rhodes Group's stock price tank." Gavin stared at me for a moment, then suddenly laughed. It wasn't that phony social smirk, but a low, amused chuckle coming from his chest. His shoulders shook as he laughed, as if he'd heard the funniest joke of his life. "I knew it," he said, after he finished laughing, reaching out to take that heavy Hermes bag right out of my hand, his movements so natural it was as if we'd known each other for a lifetime. "You were never the kind of woman to swallow your pride for the sake of so-called decency. The Kayla Archer who dared to take a screwdriver and publicly dismantle her mentor's biased work at Harvard Design School is finally back." My heart skipped a beat. Very few people knew about that Harvard incident, and that was years ago. Liam didn't even know I had such a rebellious history at the academy. He only liked my good girl side. How did Gavin know? But he didn't give me a chance to ask any questions. He simply shoved me into the back seat, then walked around to the other side and sat down, snapping his fingers at the driver in the front. "Take us to the apartment on Central Park South." "Wait," I frowned. "I'm going to a hotel." "Why stay at a hotel?" Gavin turned his head, the reading light inside the car falling on his profile, outlining his deep, sculpture-like features. Those paparazzi probably have the Waldorf and the Plaza surrounded tight right now. If you don't want tomorrow's headline to be "Discarded Rich Wife Down and Out in a Hotel," you'd better listen to me. Is that your apartment? That's my safe house. He took a bottle of sparkling water out of the car fridge, twisted it open, and handed it to me. Except for me and my cleaning lady, no one knows about that place. Even Eleanor doesn't know. It's absolutely safe, and... He paused, a hint of slyness flashing in his eyes. It has the best security system in all of New York. If Liam tries to harass you, he won't even be able to get through the lobby doors. I have to admit, this offer was very tempting. I really don't want to face the media's long lenses and microphones right now, and I definitely don't want to get blocked at the hotel door by Liam or Ariana. How much is the rent? I took the water, asking in a businesslike manner. Gavin laughed in exasperation, and he shook his head helplessly. Ms. Fan, you just snatched half a fortune from that idiot, and now you want to settle rent with me? Fine. If you insist on paying, then save the first design of your new collection for me. You know I have a collecting habit. The car drove smoothly into the Manhattan night. I leaned back against the leather seat, watching the lights fly past the window, and the exhaustion finally caught up with my body. Why come back? I asked with my eyes closed. For a chance. What chance? Control of the roads group? Not exactly. Gavin's voice sounded especially clear in the darkness. There were things that, 5 years ago, I wasn't strong enough to keep, so I had to give them up. Now I have the capital, and I want to take them back, whether it's the company or something else. I didn't dig deeper into what that something else was. My intuition told me that might be a forbidden zone I shouldn't touch, at least not right now. The car stopped downstairs at an extremely private luxury apartment building. Gavin took me up to the penthouse. As soon as I walked in, I was shocked by the scene before me. This didn't look like a single man's dwelling at all. It was more like a small private art gallery. Inside the spacious, high-ceilinged room, there were no superfluous decorations. The walls were hung with a few originals by contemporary artists, and outside the floor-to-ceiling windows lay a panoramic view of the entire Central Park and the Manhattan skyline. But what shocked me the most was a glass display case in the center of the living room. Inside lay a necklace. That was the piece I won the National Design Gold Award with in my sophomore year, the Thornbirds. It was an immature design, carrying the rawness and edge of my student days, a bleeding bird made of black spinel and rubies. I remember that necklace was auctioned off at a high price by a mysterious buyer right after the exhibition. Back then, that money helped me pay off all my tuition and became the startup capital for me to found my personal brand. I had always thought the buyer was an eccentric old lady or some European collector. I didn't expect it to be here. It's you? I turned my head, looking in disbelief at Gavin, who was taking off his coat. He paused, did not deny it, but simply said faintly, "Back then, to rush your graduation project, you ate instant noodles for 2 months straight. I couldn't stand watching it anymore. So you spent $50,000 to buy a necklace that can't be worn out at all? It's beautiful." Gavin walked over to the display case, gazing tenderly at that thornbird, as if gazing at the most precious treasure in the world. It represents the kind of vitality that sings even while bleeding, just like you. My heart felt like it was slammed hard by something, that bittersweet yet warm feeling instantly spreading through my limbs and bones. 5 years ago, when Liam was pursuing me, he gave me Tiffany's mass-produced bestsellers, saying it was the romance every girl dreams of. He never truly looked at my designs, never tried to understand the soul in my work. And yet this younger brother, whom everyone considered a rebel, back when I was most down and out and unknown, had treasured my talent so carefully. "Thank you," I whispered. "Don't thank me just yet." Gavin turned and walked toward the open kitchen, turning on that Italian espresso machine that looked extremely expensive. Hungry? I can only make one thing. Hope you don't mind. 10 minutes later, a plate of steaming hot truffle pasta was placed in front of me. No fancy plating, but the aroma was mouth-watering. I was really hungry. In that suffocating penthouse, I hadn't had a proper meal in a long time. Ariana was always nitpicking about calories, while Liam was busy catering to her moods. The atmosphere at the dinner table was always so oppressive, it gave me a stomachache. I picked up my fork, twirled a mouthful of pasta, and put it in my mouth. It tasted amazing. I thought you'd take me to Percé or Le Bernardin. I was a bit surprised. Those places are too noisy and full of those pretentious so-called elites like Liam. Gavin poured himself a glass of red wine and leaned against the counter, watching me eat. Besides, I don't think what you need right now is 3 Michelin star service, but a bit of real warmth. Warmth. The word made my hand holding the fork tremble slightly. Just then, my phone started vibrating like crazy. Liam's name flashed on the screen, once, twice, 3 times. I didn't answer and just hit mute. Immediately after, notification sounds from various social apps started bombarding me. Kayla, where are you? Stop messing around. Eleanor said you went to the airport to pick up Gavin. Where is he? Ariana keeps crying. Can't you be a little more mature? I tore up that separation agreement. I don't accept it. You must come home tomorrow. Looking at these messages, I just found it laughable. He tore it up? Did he think tearing up that piece of paper could erase its legal effect? Gavin glanced at my lit-up phone screen and gave a light scoff. He's getting desperate. Let him panic. I put down my fork and wiped my mouth. The agreement has already been sent to the lawyer. Tomorrow morning, my team will go to the company to liquidate the assets. He'll have to acknowledge it whether he wants to or not. No, what I mean is... Gavin put down his glass, walked up to me and leaned down slightly, those aggressive eyes staring straight at me. He's not anxious about you splitting his money. He's afraid of losing you, that the glamorous Rhodes family will turn into a pile of mud. He's a giant baby, Kayla, and you're the one who's been wiping his ass. Now that the nanny has quit, of course he's panicking. He accurately pierced through that layer of Liam's hypocritical, deep affection mask. In that case, Gavin took a black card out of his pocket and gently placed it on the table in front of me. Tomorrow is your big day. As your biggest creditor, after all, you now owe me a design and a rent payment. I have an obligation to ensure my partner appears in the most perfect form. What is this? An unlimited supplementary card. Gavin shrugged. Since you're getting a divorce, don't take any of those clothes or jewelry Liam bought, not even a pair of socks. It's bad luck. Go to Fifth Avenue tomorrow and buy everything you like, all the things you didn't dare buy before to maintain the Rhodes family image. Buy it all. I'm not using your money. I frowned. It's an investment. Gavin stuffed the card into my hand without giving me a chance to argue, his fingertips barely grazing my palm, sending a faint electric current through me. Kayla Archer returning to the singles market is the biggest bullish news in New York this year. I have to get a head start, don't I? Before I could retort, he added, Besides, I want to invite you to be my date for that charity gala tomorrow. Are you crazy? My eyes widened. That's Liam's turf. If I go there and tell everyone, Gavin interrupted me, a flame named ambition burning in his eyes. The real mistress of the Rhodes family isn't that fake crying bitch, nor that check-signing moron. It's you, Kayla. You made that brand. He reached out his hand, making an inviting gesture, as gentlemanly as a knight, yet as dangerous as a demon. What do you say, sister-in-law? Oh no, Miss Fan. Dare to go crash the party with me? Looking at the crazy yet captivating light in his eyes, I felt something long dormant within me ignite too. If we're gonna cause a scene, then let's turn the whole world upside down. I placed my hand in his palm, feeling that searing heat, with pleasure. The Met's Charity Gala is the ultimate battlefield for New York high society. This isn't just a show where celebrities compete for attention, but a gladiatorial arena where power and capital clash. Every step, every clink of glasses, even every meeting of eyes could determine tomorrow's headlines on Wall Street. And tonight, this gala is destined to go down in history because of this big drama from the Rhodes family. When Gavin and I arrived, the flashbulbs on both sides of the red carpet almost turned the dark night into day. I was wearing that deep red velvet gown. The high slit design teased glimpses of my legs as I walked, and the diamond chains on my back swayed gently with my steps, their icy touch a constant reminder to keep my spine straight. Gavin was in a black Tom Ford tuxedo, no tie, collar slightly unbuttoned to reveal his collarbone and the edge of a tattoo, a spreading eagle he'd gotten back in Silicon Valley. This kind of unruly style should have been a faux pas in traditional old money circles, but the powerful aura he exuded forced that casualness into a domineering declaration that I am the rules. Our appearance instantly plunged the originally noisy red carpet into a brief, deathly silence, followed immediately by even more frantic shutter sounds. Look, that's Kayla Archer. She actually came with Gavin. God, that dress is gorgeous. Is this a declaration of war on Liam? The Rhodes family feud. Brother against brother. We're in for a good show tonight. I held onto Gavin's arm, feeling the tension in his muscles and the warmth of his body. He turned his head and whispered in my ear, "Nervous?" "A little," I admitted. After all, I used to be just a flower vase standing behind Liam, smiling and nodding. Then from now on, get used to standing in the spotlight. Gavin squeezed my hand. Tonight you are the star, and I am the knight who lifts your hem. We walked into the banquet hall. Beneath the huge crystal chandelier, celebrities were gathered. I spotted Liam and Ariana at a glance. They stood in the center of the crowd, surrounded by a few small-time bosses trying to latch onto the Rhodes family. Liam wore a well-tailored dark blue suit and still looked handsome, but the dark circles under his eyes and his constant checking of his watch betrayed his anxiety. And Ariana? I almost couldn't hold back a laugh. Sure enough, she was wearing that Elie Saab starry dress. The dress itself was extremely beautiful, the silver-gray tulle studded with tiny rhinestones, like the entire Milky Way draped over the body. But the problem was, I had someone alter it one size smaller. Although Ariana wasn't fat to begin with, she definitely wasn't that paper-thin body type either. Right now, she was forcibly stuffed into this dress. The flesh at her waist was squeezed out of shape, and her chest was pushed up way too much, turning what was originally an ethereal design into a cheap nightclub style. What was worse, because the dress was so tight, she didn't even dare to breathe deeply. Her face was flushed red, and she still had to force that socialite smile, looking utterly ridiculous. Pfft. Gavin obviously saw it too, and he let out a sneer without trying to hide it at all. That laugh successfully drew everyone's gaze over. Liam saw us. His gaze first landed on Gavin's hand around my waist, instantly turning incredibly sinister. Then it shifted to me. A flash of stunned admiration passing through his eyes, followed immediately by even more intense anger. He probably never expected that his always docile and low-key wife would be so dazzling when she actually blossomed. Ariana saw me too. Her eyes were fixed on my red dress, burning with enough jealousy to practically spit fire. She probably realized her current embarrassment and subconsciously tried to cover her waist with her clutch. But because her movement was too big, the dress let out a faint "Reep." Although the sound wasn't loud in this kind of celebrity-filled gathering, it was enough for the circle of people around to hear it clearly. Ariana's face instantly turned deathly pale. She stood stiffly on the spot, not daring to move a muscle, tears already swirling in her eyes. Liam heard it too. He frowned and scolded in a low voice. "What's going on? Didn't I tell you to lose weight? You even managed to burst such an expensive dress? This scene was simply the best appetizer of the night. Gavin led me through the crowd like Moses parting the sea, walking straight toward Liam. "Good evening, brother, and this lady who stuffed herself into children's clothes." Gavin raised the champagne in his hand, his tone so breezy it made you want to punch him. Liam took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure. "Gavin, this is a charity gala, not your Silicon Valley party. Watch your language." "Oh? So you also know it's a charity gala?" Gavin raised his eyebrows exaggeratedly. "Then how come I heard that someone came here under the name of the Mistress of the Rhodes family? If I remember correctly, the Mistress of the Rhodes family is standing right beside me." As he spoke, he turned slightly sideways and pushed me in front of everyone. Countless gazes instantly focused on me. There was curiosity, sympathy, but mostly the excitement of watching a good show. I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and looked straight into Liam's eyes. "Liam, why don't you introduce us?" I smiled and spoke, my voice clear and firm. "This lady wearing a dress that would expose everything if she weren't careful, what exactly is her capacity here? Is she your new flame, or the thief who stole that necklace you claimed was still missing?" "What nonsense are you talking?" Liam growled, lowering his voice. "We'll talk about the necklace at home. There are so many people here." "Home?" I sneered. "I can't go back to that home anymore. Since you don't want to say it, I'll say it for you." I turned to the socialites around us who were pricking up their ears for gossip and spoke loudly. "Everyone, let me take this opportunity to clarify. Mr. Liam Rhodes and I are already in the process of separating. As for the reason, I think if you all look at that pink diamond necklace Miss Ariana hasn't had time to take off her neck yet, you should understand." Ariana instinctively covered her neck, but that was basically admitting her guilt. A wave of murmurs erupted from the crowd. "Is that the pink diamond Kayla Archer used to wear?" "My God, they barely just separated, and he's already letting his mistress wear his wife's dowry. That's just too shameless, isn't it?" "The point is, this mistress is dressed so shabbily, her dress is even ripped." Ariana finally broke down. She let out a scream. "It's not like that. Liam gave this to me. He said it was compensation for me. Sister Kayla, how could you slander me like this?" "Compensation?" Gavin cut in coldly. "Using your wife's private property to compensate for your own messy affairs? Bro, has your financial situation really gotten this bad? If you're short on cash, you can tell me. After all, right now, I have nothing but money." Liam's face turned purple. He pointed at Gavin, his finger trembling. "You shut up! This is my family business!" "Family business?" Gavin sneered, suddenly pulling a USB drive out of his pocket and tossing it directly to the staff member in charge of the projection nearby. "Since everyone is so concerned about the Rhodes family's business, why don't we take a look at something even more interesting?" Liam seemed to realize something and tried to rush over to stop it, but was firmly held back by two tall bodyguards, obviously brought by Gavin. The image on the big screen switched. It was no longer the promotional video for the charity gala, but a surveillance video. In the video, the background was the living room of the penthouse. The timestamp showed yesterday afternoon. In the footage, Ariana is holding that priceless Aurora necklace, posing with it in front of the mirror. Her expression is greedy and twisted as she mutters to herself, "Does that old hag even deserve such good stuff? Once I become Mrs. Rhodes, all of this will be mine." Then, she heard footsteps outside the door. The next second, her expression instantly switched to horror. Then, without hesitation, she smashed that necklace hard onto the ground, followed immediately by collapsing onto the sofa herself, starting a masterful panic attack performance. The whole place went into an uproar. This is the so-called accident? This is the so-called PTSD. This is simply a carefully planned setup. Ariana looked at the big screen. Her whole body went limp on the ground as if she had been struck by lightning. That dress, which was already in a precarious state, finally couldn't bear the load and with a "ripe" completely split open from the armpit. This time, she really flashed everyone. Gasps and jeers rose and fell all around. Some people even took out their phones and started recording. Liam stood there, like a petrified statue. He looked at that repulsive woman on the big screen, then looked at the wretched Ariana on the ground, the shock in his eyes gradually turning into deep disgust. He always thought he was protecting a frightened little bunny, but he never expected he was raising a scheming, venomous snake. And I, watching all this, surprisingly felt no ripples in my heart. In the past, how many grievances did I endure to maintain this man's dignity? Now watching him completely humiliated in public, I only feel good. So good. Is this the favor you wanted me to help with? I turned to look at Gavin and asked in a low voice. Not entirely. Gavin looked at me, the smile in his eyes deepening. This is just the appetizer. The real main course is you. Me? Miss Kayla Archer. Gavin suddenly knelt on one knee, extending his hand to me in this chaotic setting filled with mockery and flashing lights. Although the timing is a bit strange, I really couldn't wait any longer. I want to invite you to become the chief partner and art director of my newly founded Aurora Capital. You name your salary, and I've reserved 30% of the shares for you. Most importantly, he paused, his gray-blue eyes full of deep affection. From now on, I want to be the first audience for every single one of your designs. The surroundings instantly fell silent. This wasn't a proposal, yet it was more heart-fluttering than a proposal. While everyone was watching Liam make a fool of himself, Gavin, witnessed by all of New York, gave me the highest dignity and recognition. Liam looked at the scene in disbelief, his lips moving as if he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. I looked at Gavin, looking at those eyes that had been watching me since 8 years ago. This time I didn't hesitate. I placed my hand in his palm, breaking into a heartfelt smile. Deal. Thunderous applause erupted. In this moment, I was Kayla Archer, a top designer, a powerhouse woman about to launch a new business empire. As for Mrs. Rhodes, who is that? I don't know her. The day after the charity gala, New York's headlines exploded. Now Rhodes family brothers feud, ex-wife becomes biggest winner, socialite Ariana suffers public wardrobe malfunction, green tea persona collapses. Kayla Archer slays in red dress, makes powerful comeback with mystery backer. These headlines were like bombshells, completely disrupting the already turbulent social circles of the Upper East Side. Rhodes Group's stock plummeted to its limit at the opening bell, and the board of directors held an emergency meeting overnight. It said that the old men were so furious they almost trashed Liam's office. And I'm sitting in Gavin's office with the 360-degree panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows, drinking geisha coffee flown in from Colombia, flipping through the latest asset liquidation report sent by the lawyer. Satisfied? Gavin leaned against the edge of the desk, long legs casually crossed, playing with a gold-plated pen in his hand. He was wearing a dark blue bespoke shirt today, sleeves rolled up to reveal the smooth lines of his forearms, looking both elite and oozing testosterone. Very satisfied. I closed the report, the corners of my mouth curling up uncontrollably. To keep his seat on the board, Liam had to accept all my terms: ownership of the jewelry brand, 3 properties in Manhattan, and that 40% of liquid assets. They're all mine now. It's what you deserve, Gavin chuckled. But that's not enough. Not enough? I don't just want him to bleed. I want him left with nothing. Gavin's gaze instantly sharpened. You know what? That Ariana was photographed this morning at a secondhand luxury store on 5th Avenue trying to sell off that pink diamond necklace. I raised an eyebrow. That fake? That's right. When the shopkeeper told her it was cubic zirconia, they say she went crazy on the spot, smashed the store's glass counter, and has now been taken away by the police. I couldn't help laughing out loud. That is exactly the kind of thing Ariana would do. Greedy and stupid, once she lost Liam's protection, she was like a fish out of water, only able to struggle desperately on the shore. What about Liam? He didn't go bail her out? He can't even save his own skin right now. Gavin pointed to the large screen on the wall, which was displaying the Rhodes Group's stock chart. The board has decided to suspend his CEO duties and have a professional manager take over temporarily. If he can't turn the stock price around within 3 months, he's out on his ass. So, this is the opportunity you were talking about? I looked at him. No, Gavin shook his head, looking at me with a deep gaze. My opportunity is you. He walked up to me, leaned down and braced his hands on the armrests of the chair, caging me in a small space. That familiar cedar scent enveloped me again, carrying an oppressive feeling that made my heart race. Kayla, I'm at the helm of Aurora Capital now, and you are my art director. We are bound by shared interests, but I don't want to just be your partner. My heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively shrank back a little. Gavin, I told you. I just ended a marriage. I don't want to right now. I know. He interrupted me, his voice low and gentle. I'm not forcing you to agree to anything right now. I just want to tell you, starting today, I'm going to pursue you in my own way. Not as a younger brother, nor as a partner, but as a man. He reached out and gently tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear. You can refuse, you can run away, you can even use me. But I won't let go. I missed my chance 8 years ago. This time, not even God can stop me. His gaze was too direct, too intense. It felt like he was going to melt me completely. I opened my mouth, only to find that I couldn't get a single word of refusal out. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. Come in. Gavin straightened up, instantly restraining that deeply affectionate look, reverting to that cold, domineering CEO. It was Gavin's assistant who came in, holding an invitation. Boss, Miss Van, this is the invitation for tonight's Sotheby's auction. The organizers sent it over specially, saying that to make up for the regret of the Aurora necklace being withdrawn earlier, they've specially reserved the best private box for Miss Van. Sotheby's. That was the place Liam used to love taking me to the most, to show off his wealth and taste. And every time I was just an accessory, smiling as I watched him spend a fortune for the sake of his so-called face. Want to go? Gavin looked at me. Of course I'm going. I took the invitation, my gaze turning firm. Since I'm starting over, I should get back up right where I fell. Not only am I going, but I'm taking my new work with me. The atmosphere at the Sotheby's auction that night was more heated than ever before. Not only because there were a few rare treasures tonight, but even more so because everyone knew that the unfinished drama of the Rhodes family might have new developments tonight. Gavin and I sat in the VIP box on the second floor with an excellent view. Liam came too. He sat in the first row downstairs. Ariana wasn't by his side, just an unfamiliar young woman. She looked like a model who just debuted, her eyes revealing a clear kind of stupidity. It seems a man's deep love really is thinner than toilet paper. 1 second he's fighting the world for Ariana, and the next he can switch to a new flame and keep parading around. That is the youngest daughter of the Stein family, Gavin explained in my ear. Looks like he wants to stabilize his position through a marriage alliance. Too bad, I sneered. The Stein family has some money, sure, but at a critical moment like this, who would dare marry their daughter to a CEO who could go bankrupt at any time? The auction went smoothly until the final showpiece was brought on stage. That was a rough blue diamond weighing 12 carats, named Eye of the Deep Sea. Uncut, yet it was already emitting a breathtaking glow. Starting bid, $10 million. The auctioneer's voice fell. The whole venue instantly went quiet. This price was enough to scare off 99% of the buyers. Liam raised his paddle. $11 million. He obviously wanted to prove that the Rhodes Group was still financially powerful by securing this gem. 12 million. Someone followed. 15 million. Liam didn't hesitate. The price skyrocketed, soon reaching 20 million. Sweat started to bead on Liam's forehead, but he still held on tight. This was his last gamble. If he could win this gem, perhaps he could save a little face in tomorrow's headlines. Just when he thought victory was in hand, Gavin picked up the bidding device on the table. San Chien Mo. The whole room was in an uproar. Raising the bid by 10 million straight up? What kind of god-tier move is this? Liam whipped around to look at the private box on the second floor. When he saw that half smile on Gavin's face, his whole body froze. The 31 million. Liam's voice was trembling. This had already exceeded his budget limit, but he couldn't lose, especially not to Gavin. 40 million. Gavin didn't even bat an eye, as if he wasn't calling out US dollars, but Zimbabwean dollars. Liam slumped completely in his chair. He had lost utterly and completely. $40 million. He couldn't possibly come up with that right now, unless he used company funds, which was illegal. 40 million going once, 40 million going twice, 40 million going 3 times. Sold. As the gavel fell, thunderous applause filled the venue. Everyone looked toward the second floor, looking at that upstart who was not only decisive and ruthless in the business world, but also fiercely protective in matters of the heart. Are you crazy? I asked Gavin in a low voice. 40 million for a raw stone? Even if you are a VC tycoon, that's not how you burn money. It's not just a raw stone. Gavin turned his head, looking at me with gentle eyes. This is a welcome gift for you. I want you to use it to redesign a work that surpasses Aurora. I want the whole world to know that Kayla Archer's designs are worth any price. At that moment, I felt my eyes getting a bit moist. Over the past 5 years, Liam had given me countless jewels, but never was a single one truly bought for me. They were showpieces, they were props, anything but gifts. But Gavin, what he gave me wasn't a finished product, but possibility, a future, and trust. After the auction ended, we went backstage to handle the handover procedures. Liam appeared in the corridor like a ghost. He looked at the box holding the blue diamond in Gavin's hand, his eyes filled with jealousy and resentment. Gavin, don't get too smug. Liam gritted his teeth. You think money can buy everything? Only the Rhodes family's craftsmanship is worthy of this diamond. Even if you give it to her, she won't be able to make anything out of it. Is that so? Gavin sneered. Brother, you seem to have forgotten. The Rhodes family's best designer is right by my side now, and she took the entire core technical team with her. Liam froze for a moment, then abruptly looked at me. You poached everyone from the workshop? It wasn't poaching, I corrected indifferently. They came with me voluntarily. After all, no one wants to follow a boss who can't even tell a real pink diamond from a fake one. Liam was choked up and couldn't say a word. Just then, someone in a police uniform walked over. Mr. Liam Rhodes. The police officer showed his badge. We received a report that Ms. Ariana Miller has accused you of suspected instigation of fraud and transfer of assets. Additionally, regarding the incident where she smashed up a store on Fifth Avenue, she claims that she was under your psychological control. Please come back with us to assist in the investigation. Liam was completely dumbfounded. What? Ariana is accusing me? That crazy woman. I treated her so well. This is your family matter. Save it for the judge. The police officer mercilessly handcuffed him. Watching the pathetic figure of Liam being taken away by the police, I surprisingly didn't feel a shred of sympathy. This is his so-called kindness. This is his so-called responsibility. In the end, it was just a dog-eat-dog farce. Let's go. Gavin put his arm around my shoulder. The show's over. We should go home. Home? Back to that home where it's just the two of us. This time, I didn't refuse. Walking out of Sotheby's doors, the New York night sky was still dazzling. I looked up at the sky full of stars and suddenly felt that perhaps this was the true beginning of my life. Only by saying goodbye to the wrong person can you encounter the right scenery. And the person willing to watch the scenery with me is holding my hand tightly right now, as if he will never let go. The photo of Liam being taken away by the police hit the headlines of the New York Times Society section the very next day. Even though it wasn't the business section, the blow to the Rhodes Group was devastating. Shareholders' trust in the family heir completely collapsed. The stock price hit the limit down for 3 days straight, and some even started dumping their options. And Ariana, that woman who used to cry and scream saying, "I can't live without Liam," turned right around and gave an exclusive interview to a tabloid from inside prison. She wept pitifully in front of the camera, claiming she was an innocent victim gaslit by Liam, that control freak, and even whipped out a stack of so-called psychiatric reports to prove she was having a dissociative identity disorder episode when she trashed the store. It was simply preposterous. But this absurdity catered exactly to the public's voyeuristic appetite for rich family melodrama. In an instant, the Rhodes family became the laughingstock of the entire U.S. And I, as the only one who walked away from this storm unscathed and with both fame and fortune, naturally became the center of everyone's attention. In the offices of Aurora Capital, the phones wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests from major fashion magazines and partnership offers from top brands flew in like snowflakes. Kayla. Turn them all down. I didn't even lift my head as I sketched lines on the blueprint. Tell them I'm only focused on doing one thing right now. What is it? Polishing that 40 million stone. The eye of the deep sea. Blue diamond that Gavin gave me is now lying quietly on my workbench. Its color is as deep as the sea, pure and flawless, as if holding some kind of mysterious power. I'm going to use it to design a piece that not only surpasses Aurora, but redefines the name Kayla Archer. Just then, Gavin pushed the door open and came in. He was carrying 2 cups of hot cocoa in his hand. That was his only compromise to me in this early winter season, because I insisted on not drinking those black coffees of his that were nothing but bitter. Busy? He placed the cocoa by my hand, glancing at the drawing as he did. This is a siren? On the sketch, that huge blue diamond was designed as the eye of the siren, surrounded by waves crafted from platinum and tentacles encrusted with paved diamonds, looking both dangerous and mesmerizing. I nodded. I want to call it Siren's Song. It represents temptation, danger, and the courage to pursue freedom even if it means being shattered to pieces. It's very you. Gavin chuckled low. But I have some bad news to tell you. Liam got bailed out? I wasn't surprised. After all, the Rhodes family has a century-old legacy. They still have that kind of connections. Not just bailed out. Gavin's expression turned serious. He's teamed up with a few old shareholders and is planning to launch a counterattack at tomorrow's shareholders meeting. Supposedly, he found some so-called evidence that proves you tampered with the separation agreement, and he wants to use that to overturn the deal and take back that 40% of the assets. Is he still dreaming? I sneered. That agreement has video from the notary office and was witnessed by 3 top lawyers. He thinks he can just back out? Just a cornered dog jumping the wall, that's all. Gavin shrugged. But he found a helper this time. Guess who? Who? Ariana. I froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Didn't those 2 just tear into each other at the police station? What is this now? A love-hate saga? This is the so-called eternal interests. Gavin sneered. Ariana probably realized she didn't have the money to hire a lawyer, and Liam promised that as long as she helped him overturn the case, he'd give her a sum of money to run away far. So these 2 have become star-crossed lovers again, preparing to sling mud at you at tomorrow's shareholders meeting. saying you're the vicious woman who framed her husband and drove his mistress crazy. Although this trick is old-fashioned in such a sensitive period, it really is disgusting. Once public opinion flips, even if I win the lawsuit, my reputation will be ruined. Then what do we do? Amy asked worriedly. Should we issue a statement? What use is a statement? Gavin interrupted her, a bloodthirsty glint flashing in his eyes. When dealing with mad dogs, you have to beat them to death in one go. I'll go to tomorrow's meeting as the largest shareholder. I'll go too. I stood up, picking up that half-finished drawing. Since they want to put on a show, I'll play along to the end. Not only will I go, but I'll also bring this design. You're going to present it on the spot? Gavin raised an eyebrow. Yes, I want to let them know that true value isn't earned by lip service and tears, but by real skill. The next day, Rhodes Group headquarters. That conference room, which used to make me feel stifled, was now filled with shareholders with various expressions. Liam sat at the head seat. Although his face was pale, his eyes revealed a desperate ruthlessness. Ariana sat beside him, wearing a plain white dress, no makeup, looking pitiful and helpless. She really had that little white flower persona down to a fine art. When Gavin and I pushed the door open and walked in, everyone's eyes instantly focused on us. Miss Fan, this is an internal meeting of the Rhodes Group. Unrelated personnel are not permitted inside. One of Liam's trusted lawyers stood up to stop us. Unrelated personnel? Gavin sneered, slamming a share transfer agreement onto the table. Look closely. I now hold 35% of the group's shares, making me the largest single shareholder here. I have the right to bring anyone I want in to observe. The lawyer was rendered speechless and could only sit back down sheepishly. Liam stared dead at me. Kayla, are you really going to take it this far? Bringing an outsider in to destroy your own family's business? It's not me destroying the business. It's you. I looked at him calmly. If your messy private life hadn't caused the stock price to crash, Gavin wouldn't have had the chance to acquire so many shares at a low price. When it comes down to it, you're the one who handed the knife to someone else. Shut up! Ariana suddenly stood up, pointing at me and screaming, It's all your fault. You provoked me on purpose. You set me up. Liam doesn't love me at all. He only took care of me out of pity. It's you being narrow-minded and intolerant that forced us into a corner. She cried as she spoke, tears falling like beads from a broken string. In that moment, I had to admit, if her acting skills were used on the right path, she might really win an Oscar. The surrounding shareholders started whispering, and the looks they gave me became a bit subtle. After all, in the eyes of these old fogies, a woman being too strong and too scheming is ultimately not likable. Are you done acting? I interrupted her coldly. Miss Ariana, since you claim I set you up, can you explain why you stated in your police record that you actively seduced Liam and tried multiple times to use a fake pregnancy to force his hand? The whole room went into an uproar. Ariana's crying stopped abruptly, like a strangled duck. You're lying. Police records are confidential. They used to be confidential. Gavin pressed the remote in his hand, and a high-definition scan instantly popped up on the large screen in the conference room. But as a major shareholder, I have the right to access any legal documents that might affect the company's reputation. This is a copy of the public police file. Directors, I suggest you take a good look at page 12 regarding her detailed confession on how she plotted to break that Aurora necklace. On the screen, Ariana's confession was crystal clear. I couldn't stand the sight of that necklace. It was that woman's proudest work. I wanted to destroy it, to make her hurt, and to make Liam think she was being unreasonable. Every word was shocking. Liam looked at the screen, his whole body shaking. He turned to look at Ariana, his eyes filled with despair and anger. He'd always thought it was an accident, always thought Ariana was just stupid, but he never expected she was actually evil. You You actually really wanted to ruin Rhodes? Liam's voice trembled. So what if I ruined it? Seeing she couldn't keep up the act anymore, Ariana just went for broke. Look at yourself now. Without Kayla Archer, you're just a piece of trash. I thought I could be a rich wife by latching on to you, but the result? I have to go to jail. I'm telling you, Liam, since I'm going down, don't you expect to have a good life either. The two of them put on another big drama of tearing into each other in the conference room. If the security guards hadn't rushed in and pulled them apart, they probably would have started fighting again. This farce completely ruined Liam's last hope of a comeback. The shareholders shook their heads, looking at Liam like he was a pile of useless mud. Enough. A highly respected old director rapped on the table. Liam, for the good of the group, I suggest you resign from all your positions immediately and transfer your shares. We need a new leader. No, you can't do this. I'm the eldest son of the Rhodes family, Liam roared. Eldest son? Gavin stood up and straightened his cuffs. In this dog-eat-dog world, bloodline is the most useless thing. Strength is the only hard truth. He turned to look at me, his eyes gentle. Director Fan, you're up next. I nodded, walked to the front, and turned on my design projection. This is Siren's song. I pointed at the dazzling blue diamond on the screen. It's also the first annual masterpiece I've prepared for the Rhodes Group. Oh no, it should be called Aurora Jewelry now. It's not just a piece of jewelry, it's a declaration. Farewell to the past, embrace the new. I believe this is the story the market and consumers truly want to see. On the screen, that blue diamond was like a vortex in the deep sea. So beautiful it was breathtaking. Everyone present was awed by that powerful vitality and sense of design. No controversy, no doubts, only thunderous applause. Liam slumped in his chair, looking at the dazzling me on stage, and finally understood exactly what he had lost. He hadn't just lost a wife, but the soul that could bring the Rhodes family back to its peak. And all of this he pushed away with his own hands. After the meeting ended, Gavin and I walked out of the building side by side. The autumn sunlight spilled onto the streets of Manhattan, warm and cozy. Where do you want to go? Gavin asked. I don't know. I took a deep breath. Suddenly feel a bit hungry. Then let's go eat. He naturally took my hand. I know a little spot hidden in Brooklyn. The pizza is killer. No media, no flashbulbs, just us. Okay. I looked at him, at the boy who once could only gaze at me from the shadows, now grown into a tree that could shelter me from the wind and rain. Maybe this is what they call the right person at the right time. On the street, teeming with traffic, I squeezed his hand back tightly. This time, I don't plan on letting go again. That little joint in Brooklyn was definitely hidden, tucked away in a red brick alley full of graffiti. The owner was an old Italian guy with a bushy beard. When he saw Gavin, he patted him enthusiastically on the back with his big flower-covered hands, like he was seeing a grandson he hadn't seen in ages. Is this the girl you've been thinking about for 8 years? The old man asked loudly in Italian, his eyes lingering on me with a kind yet gossipy look. Gavin didn't deny it, just smiled and pulled out the chair for me, poured me a glass of lemon water, and replied with something in fluent Italian. I didn't understand, but I saw the old man laughing so hard his beard shook, and he even gave me a thumbs up. What are you talking about? I was a bit curious. He said you're even prettier than in the photos. Gavin sat across from me. That cutthroat aura from the board meetings was completely reined in at this moment, leaving only a casual and relaxed, boyish vibe. He also said, if I don't act fast, you're going to get snatched up by some other handsome young guy. I took a sip of water, feeling a bit embarrassed. It's not like I'm some hot catch. I'm a divorced woman. Don't say that about yourself. Gavin put away his smile, looking at me with serious eyes. In my eyes, you are a priceless treasure. That divorced label is just a burden you've cast off. It doesn't represent your failure. Instead, it proves your courage. Courage. The word made my heart tremble. From childhood to adulthood, I had tried hard to be a perfect, obedient daughter, listening to my parents and marrying the so-called well-matched Liam, enduring so much to maintain the family image. Until this moment, I finally truly felt that someone appreciated me because of my rebellion and sharp edges. The pizza was served quickly, thin crust with crispy edges, topped with fresh basil leaves and buffalo mozzarella, giving off a mouth-watering aroma. We were like two ordinary lovers chatting about trivial things while eating pizza, from recently released movies, to that bagel shop in New York that always had a long line, to the oddball entrepreneurs he had met in Silicon Valley over the years. No wealthy family feuds, no scheming for profit, just the purest relaxation, until my phone vibrated again. It was Eleanor. I hesitated for a moment, but answered it anyway. "Kayla, I know it's not appropriate to call you at this time." Eleanor's voice sounded a bit tired, but still maintained the dignity of a noble lady. "But I still have to say sorry to you." "Eleanor, this isn't your fault." "No, it's my fault for not raising Liam well. I was also too selfish, always thinking of using you to keep him in check, yet ignoring your feelings." Eleanor sighed. "I know the board's decision. Liam, he got what he deserved. As for Gavin, he's a good kid. Although I haven't cared enough about him these years, I can tell he's sincere about you." I didn't speak, just subconsciously glanced at Gavin sitting across from me. He was looking down, cutting his pizza, seemingly not listening, but I noticed his ear twitch slightly. "If you're willing, the door to the Rhodes family is always open to you," Eleanor said finally. "Even if not as a daughter-in-law, I hope to have you as a friend. After all, your talent shouldn't be buried." After hanging up the phone, I had mixed feelings. Eleanor is a smart woman. She knew the game was up and chose to bow out gracefully in this way, preserving the last bit of dignity for both of them. "What did she say?" Gavin raised his head. "She said you're a good boy." I smiled. "She also said that if you bully me, she'll come and deal with you." "Huh." Gavin chuckled. "She's got that backwards. Growing up, it was always Liam bullying me." At the mention of Liam, his eyes darkened. "Do you know? That rainy night 8 years ago, before I was kicked out to California, I actually wanted to go find you to say goodbye. But I saw Liam proposing to you in the garden, and you were smiling so happily. I just didn't dare step out." My heart suddenly clenched. 8 years ago? Back then I really thought Liam was the one for me. Thought that was the beginning of a fairy tale. "What if you had stepped forward back then?" I couldn't help but ask. "Then I probably would have gotten my legs broken by Liam, and you still would have married him." Gavin shrugged self-mockingly. After all, the me back then had nothing except youth and a burst of reckless courage. How could I compete with that glamorous young Master Rhodes? He paused, put down his knife and fork, and looked at me with a burning gaze. But now it's different. I have money, power, and enough ability to protect the person I want to protect. Kayla, am I qualified to stand by your side now? This question didn't need an answer. His actions had already proven everything. After eating, we walked out of the restaurant and strolled along Brooklyn Bridge Park. The wind from the Hudson River blew my hair into a mess, and the Manhattan skyscrapers across the water shimmered like stars in the night. That was the most bustling place in the world, and also the coldest. But at this moment, because he was by my side, those lights seemed to become warm too. By the way, I really like that siren song design, Gavin suddenly said, but I think it's missing something. Missing what? I was a bit confused. This was one of the designs I was most satisfied with. Missing a model. He stopped in his tracks, turning to face me, the dazzling night view behind him. I want you to put it on yourself as the spokesperson for Aurora Jewelry's new season. Me? I pointed at myself in surprise. I'm almost 30, and I'm a designer. Since when does a designer act as their own spokesperson? Why not? Gavin countered. No one understands the soul of that gem better than you. Besides, I want the whole world to know that Kayla Archer isn't just a brilliantly talented designer, but also a one-of-a-kind muse. I want to make everyone who ever looked down on you have no choice but to look up to you." His words were filled with an unquestionable dominance, yet carried a tenderness meant only for me. I looked at him, my heart beating so fast it felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. "Okay," I heard myself say. "Then I'll give it a try." The following month was nothing short of an earthquake for the entire New York fashion scene. Aurora Jewelry burst onto the scene, sweeping through the major fashion weeks with an aggressive stance. And as the brand's director and spokesperson, my giant poster appeared on the most prominent screen in Times Square. In the photo, I wore that deep sea blue silk gown with that blue diamond necklace named Siren's Song around my neck. My gaze was cold, glamorous, and mesmerizing, as if I had truly transformed into the legendary siren-enticing sailors. And in the bottom right corner of the poster, a line of extremely small text was printed, "To my only muse, GRGR, Gavin Rhodes." This was him declaring to the whole world that I was his muse and his one and only preference. Liam completely disappeared from the public eye. It is said that he was shipped off to a mining area of the Rhodes Group in South Africa, responsible for supervising mining operations. That was a true exile, far away from the glitz and glamour of New York, facing nothing but yellow sand and miners every day. As for Ariana, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for fraud and intentional destruction of property and was required to pay a huge fine. The girl who once wanted to step on me to climb up finally paid the price for her greed. The dust has settled. One weekend afternoon, I was busy in the studio organizing the design drafts for the new season. Sunlight spilled onto the desk through the floor-to-ceiling windows, so warm it made me want to sleep. Gavin pushed the door open and came in, holding a black velvet box in his hand. Another gift? I looked up with a smile. What is it this time? A 50 million pink diamond or a 100 million emerald? Neither. He sat down across from me and gently pushed the box in front of me. This is more precious than those. I opened the box curiously. Lying inside was actually a somewhat old plain silver band. There were no gems on it and even some traces of oxidation. This is the first thing I bought with money I earned myself. Gavin rubbed his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed. Back then, when I first arrived in Silicon Valley, I made $5,000 from my first angel investment. I passed by an antique shop, saw this ring, and thought its pattern looked just like that thorn bird you drew. I've kept it with me all this time, thinking that if one day I could see you again, if you weren't living happily, I would give it to you. He looked at me, his eyes shimmering with that purity and persistence unique to a young boy. "Kayla, I know you don't lack expensive jewelry now, but this ring represents the Gavin who had nothing and his entire love for you. Are you willing to accept it?" My tears instantly gushed out. Compared to those priceless diamonds, this silver ring carrying his 8 years of deep affection and waiting was the most precious treasure in the world. I reached out my hand and let him slowly slide that ring onto my ring finger. The size was just right. "I do," I said, choking back sobs. The sunlight outside the window became even more brilliant. I thought, this is probably the best ending, or rather, this is the best beginning.